Hello, good morning. Anybody watching? Good morning, sweetie pies. Can you hear me? Is there any way? Who all are there? Can nobody hear me? Sweethearts, if you can hear me or if you can see my chat, please respond. Okay, I can't hear any of you. I can't see any of you. You're not responding to my chat. Gagan, can you come to 7E for a moment, please? Thanks. If you can see this chat, can you type your names? All those who are there, please type your names so I can take an attendance, sweetheart. Gagan ma'am, please see. I can see myself. I can see there are 23 viewers, but I have no idea if they can actually see me, hear me, because I've sent some
Don't
messages.
click on stop broadcast. They can see you, they can hear you also.
Okay. But they're not responding to my chat. I've just told them if you can see this chat, type your name so I can take an attendance. So I should know who all are present. But nobody's responding. Are they not able to chat with me?
Which classes happen?
7E. Were you able to see your students yesterday, ma'am?
Yes. And
Where were you able to see them?
I was able to see them here, all of them.
But I'm not able to see any of them.
Probably it's good that 24 viewers have joined. For me, only 10 viewers were able to join.
But how about, so I just conduct a session and they can't, how do I know whether they can hear me or no? Can someone call me? Yeah, if you can hear me, can someone just call me? I'm typing my number and just tell me that, yes, ma'am, we can hear you. Okay, 9818001716, enter.
Yeah, if you get
If you can just, someone call me and let me know if you can hear me, we'll conduct the class, all right? I'll just talk about LOCHINVAR.
somebody's calling me. So probably. Hello? 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 I think, ma'am, this is what Rachel ma'am did for her.
Oh, I've got a call. Hello, who's this? Very good, Sureen. So can you hear me and see me, sweetie pies?
Yes.
And can you hear me also?
Yes, ma'am.
Lovely. So we'll just, but I can't hear any of you, you know, and neither can I see.
Yeah.
Okay, but what about chatting? Can you chat with me if I'm putting some? Huh, but
So go ahead.
no, but I don't see anybody chatting with me, you know, sweetheart.
हाँ जी ठीक है.
Is there a
So
possible?
she'll continue the session right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweetheart, Gagan ma'am, one sec. Gagan ma'am, how do I access live chat? This is apparently, this is not
Yeah,
live
the
chat.
live chat.
So did
She's
you not
also
get my
mentioning
number?
on live chat?
But did you
text.
get my,
So are
see,
able
you
to
saw my
send
number on the
messages?
live chat. Is that right? Or is that not
Perfect.
right?
नहीं, message ma'am के message कि hello, can you hear me? Who all are there? Reply back to the chat. Reply back to the chat.
Okay. Thanks, Sureen. Chalo, we are conducting. Does, all right?
So
Bye.
ma'am is not able to see the messages. Fine.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, she.
All right, then. Good morning.
So ma'am is conducting the session on just they need to hear. It's one way now.
Yeah. Are you happy to see me? I'm sure you are. Isn't this exciting? All right, so we are going to start a new poem today, sweetie pies. While I can't hear you, I can't see you, and you can have all the fun that you can have in the comfort of your home and your bedroom and your drawing room. But be with me, all right? I am hoping that everybody had the chance to go through the poem Lochinvar, okay? Now, if you've heard about Scotland, and I'm sure many of you must have actually visited Scotland. Scotland, a lake is called a loch, Loch, all right? So the name Lochinvar is a Scottish name. And the poem is set in the 19th century, somewhere in the mid 1800s. Okay, so when there were knights and there were noblemen and kings and earls and all of that, the aristocracy. All right, and this poem is actually a very simple story. It's a literal story. There's no figurative meaning hidden in there. A young knight and his love interest, Ellen. So Lochinvar was a knight, a brave knight, and he was in love with this young, beautiful girl called Ellen. However, Ellen's father was not supportive of their match and disapproved uh, of Lochinvar getting married to Ellen. So did Lochinvar give up on his love? No, he did not, right? I'm sure you've read about it. Lochinvar was very determined that he's going to get his love. And how he gets Ellen is what is mentioned in the poem Lochinvar. You must have read is a ballad, right? A ballad is simply when you write a verse, when you write a poem that rhymes or can be set to music and can be sung. It's a story. Usually ballads were love songs, all right? They were love stories. And you could put a rhythm to it, you could put a melody to it, and they could be sung. So Lochinvar is simply a ballad. All right, so let's recite the poem and we'll go line by line with the explanation of the poem. So in the first stanza, it says, O young Lochinvar is come out of the west. And as I've mentioned, west means the west side of Scotland. So he probably stayed somewhere in the west of Scotland, and he was approaching the Netherby Castle from the west of Scotland. Through all the wide border, his steed was the best. Now, wide border simply implies that all over the land. So, from where he came, far across the land, his steed. Uh, a steed is a horse of superior breed, all right? So, knights used to have steeds because steeds are supposed to have, they're very strong, they're very powerful, and they can run with a lot of speed. So his steed was the best. And save his good broadsword, he weapons had none. And as he approached the Netherby Hall, he was unarmed except for one sword that he carried. A broadsword is simply with a broad blade. He rode all unarmed and he rode all alone. So faithful in love and so dauntless in war, there never was a knight like young Lochinvar. So faithful in love, he was so faithful. One evidence that we have got of his faithfulness is that uh, even though Ellen's father disapproved of the match, he did not give up and he rode all across Scotland just so that he could be with Ellen. And did he have an army supporting him? Any other knight supporting him? No, he traveled all by himself. That's how faithful he was in love. And that's how dauntless he was in war. Dauntless, as you can see, is fearless, all right? Brave, fearless. There never was a knight like the young Lochinvar. So the poet is simply saying that there was no other knight as brave and as faithful as young Lochinvar. I hope all of you are comfortable so far. All right, we shall move forward. He stayed not for break. That means simply STAID is simply that he did not stop for break. That means he did not take any break. Uh, he continued to ride, all right? And he stopped not for stone. Stone here literally means that the terrain that he was riding on was very rugged and it was stony. But that did not deter him, that did not make him stop. He continued to ride. Therefore, this line says, he stayed not for break. Break is any kind of hurdle, anything uncomfortable, challenging that he met in his path on the terrain, that did not make him stop. And he stopped not for stone. He swam the Esk River, where ford there was none. Now, as he was going towards the Netherby Hall, he had to cross a river named Esk, all right? And while it's easy to cross the river, which is shallow, because you can simply walk across it or ride across it, uh, in this case, River Esk had no shallow portion. A shallow portion in a river is called a ford, Ford. And so this is another evidence of his determination and his bravery. That even the Esk River, which did not have any shallow portion for him to cross, that did not stop him. And he swam across the Esk River to meet his love. But ere he alighted at Netherby Gate, ere is a short, it's a contraction for before. So this is poetic license, all right? So if you look at the word ERE, you can see that the B and F and O has been omitted and only ERE from that entire word remains. So this comes under the purview of poetic license, all right? So air here means before. But before he alighted at the Netherby gate, alighted is when you every morning when at the school gate you get off your cars or off the bus, you are alighting from the car or from the bus, all right? So stepping down from a vehicle from a horse and placing both your feet on the ground, that action is called alighting. So the opposite of alighting would be boarding or mounting. All right, you mount a horse, you board a bus, you board an aircraft, and alighting is stepping out and stepping down from your vehicle. So, but before he alighted at Netherby Gate, so before he could get off his horse at the Netherby Gate, so he's reached. So he's come all across Scotland from the west side of Scotland. He's rode. He rode across this rough, rugged terrain, which was stony. He even swam across the Esk River, and he's finally reached Netherby Hall's gate. But before he gets off at the Netherby's gate, he comes to realize that the bride had consented. So before he entered the Netherby Hall, the bride had consented. Who's the bride? I'm hoping that you all have said Ellen is the bride, okay? So the bride had consented, the gallant came late. Now, Ellen had consented, given her consent, given her agreement to marry someone else. And at that moment, when Lochinvar reaches the Netherby Hall, actually she was going to get married to somebody else. And she had given her approval. So she had said yes, that's what consented means. The gallant came late. Gallant here simply refers to Lochinvar, okay? The gallant came late. For a laggard in love, as, since, for means as or since, because a laggard in love. Laggard means a person who's slow, who's cowardly, okay? Who's slow. I mean, now here's a groom who's supposed to get married to Ellen, and one would think that he's going to be a very chivalrous lover. However, that's not the kind of person he was. He's been called not a laggard in love, all right? Someone who was not courageous enough and chivalrous enough in love. And a dastard in war. Now, dastard is a coward. So we already know that the person who is getting married to Ellen did not really have the qualities that any brave, gallant young man should. And so for a laggard in love and a dastard in war was to wed the fair Ellen. Fair Ellen means beautiful Ellen of brave Lochinvar. Okay, Ellen who belonged to Lochinvar because she loved Lochinvar too. Comfortable, sweetie pies? I assume that's a yes. All right. If any of you have any doubts, I suggest that you make a note, all right? I genuinely hope that all of you have your tools handy. No one's sitting without a pencil. I should have asked this earlier. Can you see I'm carrying my tool too? So please make your notes. If in doubt, put an asterisk next to the word or the sentence which is unclear. And you can mail me and I can definitely respond over the email, or we shall hold the thought till Monday. All right? So moving on to the next stanza. The poet here says that so boldly he entered the Netherby Hall among bridesmen. So we all know that whenever a wedding is happening, there are all kinds of relatives and friends who are present there. So similarly, at the Netherby Hall, there were bridesmen. That means all the relatives that had come from the bride's side, and brothers and all. Kinsmen are your relatives. Kith and kin. Kin are your relatives. Kin. And kinsmen and brothers and all. So Ellen had brothers, and all were present at the Netherby Hall at that time. And among all these people, the entire family of Ellen and all the relatives and friends that had gathered there, Lochinvar boldly entered the Netherby Hall. Despite knowing that everybody would be there and he was all by himself, it did not stop him, it did not make him feel afraid. He entered the Netherby Hall very, very boldly. Again, another evidence of Lochinvar's bravery, okay? So boldly he entered the Netherby Hall among the bridesmen and kinsmen and brothers and all. Then spoke the bride's father, his hand on his sword. So when the bride's father saw Lochinvar in the Netherby Hall, his defenses go up and his hand automatically uh, reached the hilt of his sword. You understand the hilt, the handle of the sword? It was like a sign that if Mr. Lochinvar, if you are attempting to do any hanky-panky, if your intentions are not nice, then I am ready to fight you. All right? Gagan ma'am?
Perfect, ma'am.
Thank you, Gagan ma'am, for your support. All right. So, and obviously, but he couldn't have overtly taken out his sword because it was his daughter's wedding. So he simply signed, it was like a sign. He prepared himself that if Lochinvar is going to attempt something to do with Ellen, then with his hand on his sword, he was ready to fight Lochinvar. So, then spoke the bride's father, his hand on his sword. So, with that, his hand on the sword, he spoke to Lochinvar. And in brackets, after this line, it says, in brackets, for the poor craven bridegroom said never a word. Ideally, if Lochinvar, if you are getting married to this girl and and someone who is also wooing her, likes her, enters the wedding premises, it would be a threat to the groom. And in an ideal situation, probably the groom should have stepped forward and challenged Lochinvar in that moment that how dare you come to our wedding. However, since the groom did not do anything, he kept standing there like a coward. Therefore, it says the bride's father put his hand on his sword and asked Lochinvar the questions that follow. All right? And therefore, the adjective the poet has used for the bridegroom is craven. Craven means cowardly. All right? Oh, come ye in peace here, or come ye in war. Ye, as we all know, old Elizabethan English, ye means you. Oh, come ye in peace here, or come ye in war. So the first, he asks him this question. So this is a question the bride's father asked Lochinvar, that Mr. Lochinvar, have you come here in peace, or have you come here to fight? What is your intention? And then the second time, the next question he asks, or to dance at our bridal, young Lord Lochinvar, or have you just come to simply be a part of the festivities of the wedding and just dance with everybody else on this bridal, at Ellen's wedding? Now, to this question, so once when the bride's father asks Lochinvar this question, Lochinvar answers him. So this is the answer Lochinvar gives him. He says, I long wooed your daughter. My suit you denied. For many years, or for a long time, I pursued your daughter. I loved her and I wanted to get married to her. But my proposal you denied. You did not agree. You did not accept my hand for your daughter. You denied my proposal. You denied my suit. And then he goes on to say that love is like the Solway. Now, Solway is a river, okay? It's a river, but ebbs like its tide. I am hoping that in geography you've done high tide and low tide. Well, if not, so then if ever you've been to the beach, usually what happens is as the sun sets and the moon rises in the sky, the water of the sea comes more towards the shore. Okay, so it it's that's called high tide when the pull of the moon, the magnetic pull of the moon, the gravitational pull of the moon actually makes the water rise, and the water is there's less of beach visible during the night as compared to the daytime. So when the water rises, it swells, and when it goes back in the morning after the moon has set, it is called the ebbing of the tide, okay, the high tide and the low tide. So he says just like the river Solway swells and ebbs, the tide of the Solway swells and ebbs similarly. So he says love swells like the Solway but ebbs like its tide. And now, is there another line there? Give me a minute, sweetheart. I have a feeling that one of the lines here is missing from my book, from my poem. Give me a minute, huh? Sir Walter Scott. Ah, no, it's okay. I thought there was a line missing. No, there is no line missing. So, and now I come. So he says that just like the Solway's tide rises and then falls, similarly, I have come with this lost love of mine. And now I come with this lost love of mine to lead but one measure and drink one cup of wine. So he's claiming that just like the tide once was swollen, there was a lot of water in the Solway and then it receded, it ebbed. Similarly, once I had a lot of love, I experienced a lot of love for your daughter. However, now I don't feel that love anymore. All right. Because I wooed your daughter for long. However, you denied my suit. And so the love that I used to experience for your daughter once, it no longer exists. Now, if you've read the poem and you've understood it, by now you should be aware that this statement was simply made by Lochinvar to kind of put Ellen's father off his scent, okay? He very much intends to marry Ellen. He very much loves Ellen, wants Ellen's father, uh, that he doesn't want Ellen's father to suspect. And therefore, he tells him that, my love is also like the tide of the river Solway. Once I've loved your daughter, anyway, now that love does not exist. And so he says, and now I come with this lost of love of mine. So with this lost love of mine, I no longer feel the same. So I've come today to lead but one measure and drink one cup of wine, to dance a little bit and to celebrate and to drink some wine. There are maidens in Scotland more lovely by far that would gladly be bride to the young Lochinvar. And he goes on to say that, there are many other young pretty girls in Scotland who would be happy to get married to Lochinvar. All right. And all of this he's simply saying so that Ellen's father does not suspect his actual intention. And you all know that his actual intention was to actually elope and escape with Ellen, right? So when he says this, probably Ellen's father's defenses eased up, all right? And So then what happens? Let's see. So that would gladly be bride to young Lochinvar. The bride kissed the goblet. So Ellen held a goblet of wine in her hand and she kissed that goblet, and the knight took it up. The kissing of the goblet suggests that Ellen wanted to convey to Lochinvar without really using any words. It was a sign that she wanted to let him know that she still loved him, all right? And the knight, we all know that the knight here is a reference to Lochinvar. The knight took it up. So he took up that goblet of wine from her hand. He quaffed off the wine, gulped it down, okay? Uh, One usually sips wine slowly, but in this case, he just gulped the wine and he threw down the cup. Now, I have asked a question somewhere in the worksheet that why do you think, it says, why do you think Lochinvar threw the goblet? I still want you to think about it. I'm not going to share my perspective with you, but when we come back on Monday, I would like to hear why you think that Lochinvar threw the goblet. Okay, is it just simply that he threw it, or do you think it suggests something? All right, so we'll discuss that in class. Blush. We all know blush. When you blush, your cheeks turn red, and usually it could happen when you're feeling shy or when you're feeling awkward or when you're nervous, all of those emotions, all right? She looked down to blush and she looked up to sigh. We all sigh is a deep breath. And the sigh, usually, again, I would like you to hold the thought and we'll discuss in class what the sigh could mean, okay? She looked up to sigh with a smile on her lips and a tear in the eye. I've also asked you another question. With a smile, question number 9 here says, with a smile on her lips and a tear in her eye, explain this line. So I'm surprised. I'm wondering, why is it that somebody could be smiling and at the same time have a tear in their eyes? So I'm puzzled by it. And I would like you to kind of simplify this for me and help me understand that why do you think Ellen was smiling and crying at the same time, okay? So if you have your thoughts, you can pen them down. I expect you to pen them down anyway because given that worksheet to you, all right? So with a smile on her lips and a tear in her eye, he took her soft hand before her mother could bar. So before the mother could stop him, he took Ellen's hand. Now tread we a measure, said young Lochinvar. So he asked Ellen that let's dance, okay? So stately his form and so lovely her face. So they both started to dance in the Netherby Hall. If you watched any of the old English films, you've seen that they do different kinds of ballroom dances. That's how people used to celebrate in the medieval era, all right? There was ballroom dancing, there was the foxtrot, and there was the galliard, and all these dances, okay? So they started to dance, both of them. And as they danced, this is the description of both Ellen and Lochinvar. So stately his form and so lovely her face. So she was absolutely beautiful as she danced, and he was elegant and regal and dignified. That never a hall such a galliard did grace. That never had anybody seen such a lovely galliard is a type of dance, okay? Ballroom dancing, and in never any of the colonial halls, the halls of nobility, aristocrats had seen such a beautiful, dignified dance as the audience present that day witnessed. All right, when Lochinvar and Ellen were dancing. While her mother did fret and her father did fume. So fretting, when you fret, it means you're worrying. Sometimes we fret over little things, we worry and we're anxious over little things. So mother's reaction to Lochinvar taking Ellen's hand and dancing was that she was getting a little worried, okay? She's fretting and father is fuming. And when you fume, you're actually angry. I'm sure you know that, okay? So while the mother did fret and the father did fume, and the bridegroom stood dangle, and the bridegroom, lo, what did the bridegroom do? Did he challenge Lochinvar and dare him to a fight? That how dare you take my bride's hand and start dancing with her? Well, no, because we know he's been described as a coward time and again in the poem, okay? And again, an evidence to prove. If you were to be asked that, briefly give a character sketch of the bridegroom, then we know that you have another evidence here. The first evidence was that when Lochinvar entered the Netherby Hall, the bridegroom did not do anything. It was Ellen's father who came and accosted him. And second evidence is here that when Lochinvar starts dancing with Ellen, the bridegroom did not do anything. He stood there dangling his bonnet and plume. Bonnet is a hat, and a plume is like a feather, all right? And in the olden times, there used to be these hats with a feather on top. So that's what it means, dangling. He was holding that hat in his hand, and it was just he stood there in a corner, just holding his hat and not really doing anything. And the bridegroom stood dangling his bonnet and plume, and the bride maidens whispered. And what is now the bridesmaiden, they have started whispering that it were better by far to have matched our fair cousin with young Lochinvar. So it's very obvious to all the bridesmaids who are present there that Ellen and Lochinvar make a much, much better match than Ellen with the other groom. And so they are saying to themselves that, it would have been so much better if our fair cousin had been matched with Lochinvar. And while all of this is happening, so you have to visualize that Ellen and Lochinvar are dancing in the hall, and as they're twirling and circling, now while all of this is happening and people are looking, mother is fretting, father is fuming, people are just appreciating, and Lochinvar quickly taps Ellen, all right? He taps Ellen's shoulder, her hand. It says here, one touch to her hand and one word to her ear, and whispers in her ear. So that was a sign, something he says. And we have no idea what he says, but we will have to assume, okay, based on what happens next, maybe we can all guess that what he might have said to Ellen in the ear. So when they reached the hall door and the charger stood near. So charger is his horse, the steed that he had rode on. So the charger stood near the hall door. So like to the croup, the fair lady he swung. He lifted Ellen and he swung her onto the backside of the horse. He lifted Ellen and put her on the croup of the horse. So like to the croup, the fair lady he swung. Croup is the backside of the horse, fair lady's Ellen. Swung is literally lifting her and placing her on the back of the horse. So like to the saddle before her he sprung, and he then sat in front of Ellen. He himself mounted the horse. She's won, and then he exclaimed and declared to the gathering, she is won, we are gone. Bush and score. They'll have fleet steeds that follow, quoth young Lochinvar. So this is exactly what quoth young Lochinvar means. This is what he said before he rode away, galloped away with Ellen. He said that she is won, we are gone over bank. Bank is the river bank. Bush, the bushy land, scar, basically the rugged, rough landscape that he's describing here. And then he says, because he knows they will have fleet steeds that follow. Fleet steeds means fast horses. They will now, obviously, people will be sent to chase Lochinvar, okay? And to bring Ellen back. And they would be, how would they be chasing? On horses. So he says that they will have fleet steeds that follow, quoth young Lochinvar. So he said this before he escaped. There was mounting among grains. Mounting, what were they mounting? They started, everybody, so all these clans, their families and their relatives were there. These were the various clans, the Grains, the Netherby clan, the Forsters, the Fenwicks, and the Musgraves. All of them were present for the wedding, and all of them started to mount their horses with the intention of chasing Lochinvar. There was mounting among Grahams and the Netherby clan, Forsters, Fenwicks, and Musgraves. They rode and they ran. There was racing and chasing on Cannaby. Cannaby is a Scottish village. But the lost bride of Netherby never did they see. So daring in love and so dauntless in war, have you ever heard of a gallant like young Lochinvar? No, we've heard about him for the first time. So, simple poem, it's a simply a story. When I come back, when we all meet on Monday, I expect you to be able to share your perspective on why Lochinvar threw the goblet. What could Ellen's sigh represent? And why do you think Ellen was smiling and had a tear in her eye all at the same time? Okay. And we know there's a simile there. Love swells like the Solway. Love has been compared to the tide of the river Solway. Just like a tide swells and ebbs, similarly, Lochinvar has compared his love to the tide of Solway, saying that once he felt great love for Ellen, however, now that love was no longer existed. Okay, he wishes to convey that just like a tide of a river which changes from high to low, his love for Ellen was once very strong. Okay, so hope my sweethearts, so you've gone through the poem, and I expect you to do the worksheet and bring it on Monday. Any doubts, any questions, any queries, email me or wait till Monday. Surveen, Sweetie Pie, or anybody else, because I have no idea how you're feeling, if you've understood, not understood. I'm completely clueless. So I'm going to hang up now. What is the time? It's 11:47. Oh, perfect. We have done our class, and I'll see you on Monday. All right, sweethearts. Love you. Have a good weekend. Bye bye. I'm hanging up. Exit.